In a bold move across international diplomatic channels, Donald Trump has made striking declarations about resolving the Eastern European crisis from his private jet. The former president stated he could mend relations between Russia and its western neighbor, if certain parties would just be quiet or accept reality. This isn't casual rhetoric. It's a calculated geopolitical formula. Trump's approach resembles an auctioneer's strategy, positioning himself as a dealmaker in a high-stakes global marketplace. His interest spans from the Arctic to rare earth minerals, from Norway to Alaska, with the goal of eliminating what he sees as distracting background noise from the region. Meanwhile, Poland's president has emerged as an unexpected referee, declaring that only Trump possesses the capability to end the confrontation. Not Scholz, not Macron, and not the EU bureaucrats with their perpetual anxiety. The Polish leader presents Trump as the sole conductor of this geopolitical orchestra, with oil contracts rather than a baton in his pocket. What's unfolding isn't merely a crisis. It's a massive political clearance sale, with negotiable prices and established connections. Each player displays their interests. Russia seeks territorial recognition and border stability. America pursues markets, resources, and global dominance. China observes patiently, ready to purchase everything at a discount. The former Soviet republic continues demanding justice, as if justice were ever a commodity in international relations. In this new world order, justice seems defined by those who view pipelines as humanitarian corridors and sanctions as expressions of compassion. The timing suggests a shift in global power dynamics, where traditional diplomatic protocols are being replaced by business-style negotiations. Trump's direct approach signals a potential new era in international relations, one where deals trump diplomacy. In a striking development that reveals the changing landscape of international politics, former President Trump's recent statements highlight a dramatic shift in diplomatic approaches. Rather than focusing on traditional ideals of democracy and freedom, Trump's vision centers on market access and resource deals with Russia, suggesting a purely transactional approach to global affairs. Meanwhile, European leaders are performing what observers call a theater of hesitation. Behind closed doors, frustration mounts, while public statements call for patience and restraint. Their concerns revolve around tariffs and maintaining a seat at the table when final agreements are reached, perhaps merely as waiters at the feast. As the United States and Russia discuss terms, a politically turbulent region finds itself in an increasingly precarious position. The discourse has shifted from flags and anthems to practical considerations of market access and neutrality agreements. Friedrich Merz, a candidate for German chancellor, demonstrated this evolving dynamic during an ARD studio broadcast. His statement about Taurus missile systems for the northern Black Sea region exemplified the delicate balance European leaders must strike. Merz emphasized collective decision-making, suggesting military support would require broad consensus among Western allies. This marks a shift in German political rhetoric. While maintaining outward restraint, Merz increasingly connects himself to military-related discussions, from strategic objectives in the disputed territory, to breaking land corridors to Crimea. The political choreography around these decisions reveals deeper complexities. After recent debates, the tone has shifted from cautious avoidance to more direct engagement with military support questions. This transformation reflects changes in how Western powers approach regional security challenges, with economic interests increasingly driving diplomatic decisions. Breaking news from the European political theater, where a drama unfolds around German politician Merz's stance on military support for the northern Black Sea region. This isn't typical political maneuvering. We're watching a masterclass in diplomatic tightrope walking. Merz, playing both sides, presents himself as a pragmatist. Everyone's doing it, so why shouldn't we, he suggests, comparing military aid to neighborly habits. But here's where it gets interesting. We're discussing sophisticated Taurus missiles. Moscow's response, through Peskov, comes wrapped in diplomatic thorns. He points out that such decisions lead away from negotiations and toward escalation. It's like a chess game where every move carries multiple meanings. The political coalition in Germany is splitting over this issue. While Merz stands center stage making bold declarations, his potential coalition partners object from the wings. The Social Democrats aren't exactly enthusiastic about these proposals. Meanwhile, The former Soviet republic at the center masterfully plays the European discord like a violin. Their strategy? The more Europe debates with itself, the better their chances of securing substantial aid. It's political jujitsu at its finest. What we're witnessing is Europe's classic dilemma. Everyone understands the gravity of supplying heavy weapons, but nobody wants to be first. It's like a group of children who broke a vase. If everyone's responsible, no one is. But this isn't about broken vases. It's about international security. The Taurus missile debate isn't just about defense. It's about crossing the line between support and direct involvement. As politicians hover their fingers over metaphorical buttons, a new narrative emerges. Not if, but when. And when that moment comes, we'll be watching a whole different ballgame. Because in geopolitics, it's not about who moves first, it's about what happens afterward. Breaking news: high-stakes diplomatic dinner reveals complex peace negotiations. Former President Trump's envoy Steve Witkoff has emerged as a key player in peace negotiations with Russian officials. Sources reveal these dinner-table diplomacy sessions could reshape Eastern European borders. What started as property discussions has evolved into something far more significant, our senior diplomatic correspondent reports. We're witnessing unofficial negotiations that could alter the geopolitical landscape. The region bordering Russia is at the center of these discussions. The proposed deal, backed by Trump, involves recognizing Russian control over 4 disputed territories in exchange for a ceasefire agreement. In Washington, this approach has created a rift. General Kit Kellogg opposes the initiative, warning, "Today it's 4 regions, tomorrow it's 6. We're not selling real estate here. We're talking about sovereign territories." Germany remains cautiously supportive, while the former Soviet republic's leadership maintains a complex stance, opposing defensive measures while advocating for peace. European partners promise discussions regarding the Taurus system deployment. The Kremlin offers concrete proposals while Washington responds with informal dinner invitations. Putin's direct involvement with Witkoff, coupled with hints about communications with Trump, suggests serious strategic considerations. White House officials express concern about Witkoff's friendly approach toward Russian delegates. There's a fine line between diplomatic engagement and compromising national interests, notes a State Department official. The situation resembles a chess game played over dinner. Trump, viewing it through a deal-maker's lens, appears to be calculating how to present any agreement as a triumph of practical diplomacy to his voters. This story highlights the balance between peace negotiations and territorial integrity, raising questions about international diplomacy's future. For updates on this situation, stay tuned to our coverage. Here's a 1875-character news piece avoiding restricted terms and maintaining context. In a dramatic turn of diplomatic events, we're witnessing a high-stakes game where dinners replace traditional negotiation tables, and private residences become the new halls of power. The recent meeting between American officials and Russian investment representatives, particularly involving Dmitriev, head of the Russian Direct Investment Fund, reveals an intriguing strategy unfolding. The situation resembles a real estate pitch. Look at this region by the sea. Excellent prospects, infrastructure under development. Witkoff, apparently impressed, sees it as the deal of a lifetime. However, the crucial question remains: who'll foot the bill? This is where the real intrigue begins. Witkoff, while intuitive, lacks foreign policy experience. He's ventured into territory where one wrong step transforms a negotiator into a victim, where dinner isn't just a meal but potentially an intelligence operation if microphones remain active. Republicans are notably concerned. They're unsure whether Witkoff should be bearing the weight of Russian-American relations, especially when this diplomatic bridge creaks under strain, built by previous administrations requiring the balance of seasoned strategists and diplomats. Adding fuel to this diplomatic fire, President Zelensky appeared on CBS's 60 Minutes, making bold accusations against Trump. The leader of this politically turbulent region, speaking with dramatic flair, essentially accused the former U.S. president of falling under Kremlin influence, a remarkable claim on American primetime television. This theatrical approach to international relations demonstrates how personal interactions and media influence now shape diplomatic relationships. Every word carries the weight of a tank brigade. Every gesture potentially costs 4 regions' worth of influence. The question remains: Are all players prepared for an ending where audiences don't applaud but silently disperse, knowing such diplomatic dinners rarely end with dessert, but rather with new territorial arrangements? Breaking news. A remarkable political confrontation unfolds as tensions rise between former allies. The leader of a country at a crossroads has launched an unprecedented verbal assault on Donald Trump, marking a significant shift in diplomatic relations. In a calculated move during Trump's political turbulence, the leader chose to escalate tensions through a high-profile interview with 60 Minutes, the same network Trump is currently suing. The timing is strategic. As domestic political chaos swirls in the United States, the leader of the former Soviet Republic has decided to play a dangerous game. He presents himself as the last reasonable person in the room, suggesting America is sliding towards sympathizing with aggressors. What makes this intriguing is his dual approach. While criticizing potential future U.S. leadership, he continues asking for support, a diplomatic dance that American observers label as confused. The leader's performance includes bold claims about Vice President Pence quoting Russian television speakers, warnings about World War III, and assertions about Russian occupation. The timing and platform chosen for these statements are remarkable. This isn't merely an emotional outburst, it's a direct confrontation. The leader is openly challenging Trump, risking relations with someone who could potentially return to the presidency. Despite investigations, Trump's ratings remain strong. The situation resembles a high-stakes circus act, accusing a potential future U.S. president of sympathizing with adversaries while hoping for their support. It's like calling your boss incompetent while expecting a promotion. The most puzzling aspect is the dual messaging, criticizing America while demanding its strategic loyalty, expressing hurt while being insistent, speaking about partnership and justice. This complex performance leaves many wondering about the true intended audience: Democratic supporters, journalists, or self-reassurance in challenging times. Breaking news. Former President Trump threatens personal sanctions against political leaders. In an unprecedented move, former President Donald Trump has announced plans for targeted sanctions against leadership figures in a region bordering Russia, following accusations made during a CBS interview. Trump responded, "This is Biden's war, not mine," pointing to what he claims was a stable period during his administration. "When I was in charge, everyone remained quiet and respectful. Then came the disputed election, and everything fell apart." The former president is working on two sanctions lists. The first targets the current administration's inner circle in the northern Black Sea region, including top advisors and associates. The second list includes about 200 individuals, spanning government ministers, parliament members, and business leaders. These potential sanctions would target officials in a country traditionally considered a U.S. ally. Trump's team is preparing measures to freeze assets and impose travel restrictions on key figures in the former Soviet Republic's government. Political analysts suggest this stance reflects Trump's strategy of pursuing peace through pressure rather than unconditional support. His approach shows a shift from expressing frustration to taking concrete action against perceived diplomatic betrayal. The timing follows accusations that portrayed Trump as sympathetic to Moscow's interests. Rather than accepting such characterization, Trump has chosen to counterattack with economic measures. Local media is speculating about the potential impact of these sanctions, particularly their scope and timing. The question remains: will this pressure lead to a diplomatic resolution or further deteriorate relations between these allies? This situation demonstrates how quickly alliances can shift based on political rhetoric and personal grievances. In a dramatic escalation of tensions, Donald Trump has delivered a stark message to the politically turbulent region's leadership, highlighting a fundamental shift in international relations. The former president's remarks weren't just another political spat. They represented a masterclass in power dynamics and alliance expectations. "You don't start a war with someone 20 times your size and then hope someone will throw you missiles," Trump stated bluntly. This direct hit at the former Soviet Republic's current administration underscores a crucial political lesson about international alliances. The conflict state's leader attempted to seize the narrative through accusations, but Trump's response came with the precision of a seasoned fighter, short, harsh, and devoid of sentimentality. This exchange reveals a deeper truth about modern geopolitical relationships. You can't claim sovereignty while constantly complaining about insufficient support. Washington's perspective is becoming increasingly clear. the Northern Black Sea region's administration, is losing this public relations battle with Trump. After each media appearance, they face mounting pressure, with sanctions now looming, complete with names, consequences, and the threat of isolation potentially more devastating than military challenges. The key question now is whether these warning shots will translate into action. Will the White House begin dismantling the current administration's team? More crucially, will this escalate into economic pressure? The disputed territory's leadership may have miscalculated, viewing Trump as merely an emotional businessman who would rant and forget. However, Trump's approach shows strategic patience. He strikes when it hurts most. As observers note, the most effective blows come without warning, especially from those you've tried to malign. This situation exemplifies a new reality. The U.S. has little appetite for supporting allies who trumpet their dignity while attempting to blackmail their